After the whole KFC skin tragedy that plagued the global Arknights community for months, Purestream is here to prove that not all hope is lost when it comes to collabs. So let's talk about that and her. As much as I adore Arknights, I can't deny that it has its problems, and for quite some time, I'd say its biggest problem is the difference between global and CN servers, more specifically, CN exclusive events. Now, let me specify, I don't think having some exclusive events in different servers, as long as those events aren't literally only giving certain skins or even units to one server but not the other, is a bad thing. A good example of this is FGO. On NA servers, they have unique login bonuses for American-based holidays, and while I don't play JP, so I don't know if they also have little country-exclusive events, it's 100% fine if they do, since it's just a little celebration for some sort of regional holiday that gives you some extra materials. For the longest time, it felt like Arknights had drastically different priorities between its original server and its successors, this first being seen with the KFC collab. Now, I will give them the benefit of the doubt since this came out before global servers were even a thing, so there were probably some contractual agreements that didn't exist about the skins coming to different servers, but even so, you can imagine that this really caused a bad impression on the international Arknights community once it was more widespread. With every new collab that CN had, there was an air of doubt that we might never even get the same things, and for a large portion of the time, that seemed like it'd be the case. Hell, when the Rainbow Six collab first came out, there were people speculating that we might not even get that despite the fact that it was a whole event with new operators and skins, because while not giving another server new unit seems insane, it had been many months since Purestream had released with the WWF collab, as well as many months since we should have gotten it based on our schedule, but we hadn't, and there were no signs of her ever coming to global. Until now. I don't really know what circumstances led us to receiving this collab now, but I'm not gonna complain. Also, let's just stare at the free cliff art skin for a little bit. Honestly, I kind of understand why this collab would be a much more tricky one to bring to other servers since it basically works as a donation program. But hey, here it is, and boy oh boy, it makes me much more hopeful for the future, even if some things are still kind of up in the air. An example of this is the Ambient Synthesia event skins that CN recently got. They came out with a concert that happened, which was a one-time exclusive event, so does that mean we'll never get the skins? Well, before Purestream, I feel like the majority of us would assume that's the case, but now I do believe there's a possibility we could get it with some other event or just randomly in the future to fill out a dead week. While that's never happened with skins, that has happened with banners before. The Beeswax and Kiave banner was supposed to release alongside a contingency contract in the past, but was released earlier to prevent a week of nothingness. And when that CC did come out, it came out with the Thorns banner that lasted 3 weeks instead of the usual 2. So it could coincide with the event that it was supposed to come out with as well. Am I 100% saying that that's what's going to happen to these skins? Absolutely not. It's just speculation and a possibility since the devs are most likely going to be much more aware of the equality between servers now since we know that it's possible to receive rewards from what we previously thought to be CN exclusive collabs. In short, what I'm saying is that the future certainly looks a lot brighter than it did just a few weeks ago. But keep in mind that the order of things can and most likely will bounce around, not only because of possible contracts that were signed, but also because if you've been playing this game since last year, I'm sure you remember the absolute chaos that our schedule was for the few last months leading up to the anniversary just so things could be perfectly timed.
私は都市水道清掃員。コードネームは清流。今後、機関の用水の衛生管理は私にお任せください。あ、これ田舎から持ってきたお漬物です。皆さんで食べてみてくださいね。美味しさはバッチリ保証します。
Similarly to Whisperain, who quite recently came out, Purestream is a large range medic, meaning she obviously has a larger range than most, but allies in the further tiles, which are highlighted in yellow, are only healed by 70% of her attack. The irony of her release being so soon after Whisperain's is that because of her talent, they could potentially synergize extremely well together. Purestream granting every ally she heals resist for 2 seconds at E1 and 4 at E2, which basically just reduces the duration of stun, chill, and freeze by 50%. Skill 1 is pretty interesting in a good way. When using a Lancet or Mirror, the best part of them is when you first plop them down and you see so many allies gaining a big heal. The thing is, that's only when they're first placed down and not something that can happen consistently. But this is pretty close to that. Every 24 seconds, she can heal all allies within her range for 260% of her attack, giving her a semi-AoE functionality. I can't seem to find whether her trait is being taken into account or not, but I feel like it isn't, just because of the way the skill is worded, but I'll tell you the values with and without her ranged attack demerit just in case. Her new attack is raised all the way up to approximately 894, or possibly 626 in the larger range. And while the former is already a pretty big attack boost for a medic, the fact that every single ally within a range is going to be healed with that is what takes it from being decent to, oh damn. But while it does seem incredible, I understand that the fact that she has to wait 24 seconds before using an instant duration skill might be a bit of a downer. Although, within that time period she only gets in 8 attacks. If we average out both her attack values, she'll have healed a total of approximately 2,336 during this charging time. And even if there are only 3 allies, including herself, within her range, that's already enough for this burst heal to grant a higher total HP, 2,682 to be exact, than how much she'd heal while waiting for it. With all that being said though, it should seem like I don't have any complaints about it, but I feel like this could really be an incredible skill if it held charges since it's a manual trigger. Even if it didn't hold anything and gained a single additional charge at M3, it would elevate it to an entire other level, but I do understand why it wasn't done. Speaking of M3ing, if you choose to do that, the burst heal value goes up to 350%. Once again, let me reiterate that while I don't believe it counts her trait, I'll be including those values just in case. So at E2 level 1, the heal for everyone would be 1,204 or possibly 843, and since you'll most likely level her up at E250, it's 1,417.5 or possibly 992. The charging time also goes down to 20 seconds, which isn't too much of a difference but still appreciated. Skill 2 is quite interesting because it can either end up being the best thing ever or make you suffer, depending on RNG or placement. What it does is drastically reduce her attack interval, making her attack every 0.34 seconds instead of her usual 2.85. This by itself is great, being one of the most rapid-fire skills in the entire game. The fact that it belongs to a medic is even better so we can get an extremely consistent heal while she's using it. Because of how fast it is, her attack is reduced down to 40%, meaning every heal is only 138 HP at E1 max. And while that sounds kinda bad, her overall DPS goes up to about 402 instead of the usual 121, considering her lower than average attack and very large attack interval that medics have. The reason that this kinda depends on RNG though is the fact that all the allies it heals are completely at random, meaning that there could be someone who really needs a heal and would usually get it because of their lower HP, but someone else is gonna get it instead in this scenario. Now, if you happen to place Purestream somewhere where only one unit is in a range, and you specifically do that because you know at some point in time they're gonna be getting some heavy damage dealt to them, this skill can be an absolute lifesaver. It does have somewhat of a lengthy charging time of 64 seconds, but the sheer amount of attacks she'll be putting out with and without it activated can't even be compared. M3ing this honestly doesn't make too huge of a difference. The only effect increase is it's now 50% of her attack instead of 40, making her new attack at E250 202 and her new DPS 591. Overall, Purestream is actually kind of a unique unit. The mixture of her usual low attack plus the utility of her skills makes her much more of a burst healer instead of someone you'll want to rely on to keep your team alive all by themselves. Also, different than most 4 stars, she really isn't easy to get to max potential. At the moment, that isn't even possible, as the only way you can obtain her is through purchase. At a later date, she'll be added to the recruitment pool and won't be available to get through headhunts. So you'll kinda just have to hope that RNGesus will be kind enough to give her to you whenever you use the right tags. And that's it for this one. First of all, I'd sincerely like to apologize if my voice was more nasal, raspier, or even having some wheezes. I've been pretty sick lately, and that's part of the reason this video came out sort of late, since I wanted my voice to at least be bearable. Plus, I was pretty much bedbound for a few days, and even in the hospital for a little bit, so that's fun. But with that out of the way, thank you all so much for over 4,000 subscribers. I made some new sprites for myself since as an artist I can't bear to look at something I made that's older than a few months, but I guess it also coincided as well as a mini celebration. I even have a few different outfits now since I just thought it'd be cool. I know it's pretty cliche to say this, especially since in YouTube numbers I'm still considered really small, but I sincerely never thought I'd get here. And the fact that so many of you are enjoying my content is honestly pretty mind-boggling. So if you're new, feel free to stick around because we're a chill little community and I guarantee you'll have a nice experience. If you enjoy my content and would like to support me, consider checking out my Patreon since YouTube took away my monetization. It's kind of barren for now, but a large reason for that is the fact that I've been so sick. I'll definitely be much more active there in the near future. But for now, that's all I had to say. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you another day.